forward and reverse out. There you go. There's our resistors. All out at the same time. And that's going to go right here on the driver's side. What's up, everybody? Got another episode of Car Smart TV coming at you. And you can see behind me that we will go be working on another club car. This one is an electric though. And we are doing a full-blown electronics conversion. Ripping out all the old garbage in here, putting in new technology, and also going to be doing a lithium battery swap for this customer as well. Alright guys, so we are working on a, looks like a 2003. At least that's what the serial number says, but I'm not familiar that a 2003 has these resistors across here. I've always seen them being that early year, or that old of a year, have solid state in it already, but don't matter because all of this garbage is coming out of here and all new stuff is going to go in. So we're going to get cracking on that. First thing is getting our batteries out. Simple as taking your battery hold downs out of the way. Got 3 of them. Then you're going to get your battery cables off, get those out of the way, and then your batteries come out of the way. Alright guys, so we see we've removed our batteries. Now it's time to remove all of this mess. This is your V-Glide. This comes back with 6 wires total to operate the speed current that comes across here. And so we're going to get everything taken out of the battery compartment, and it'll only take just a few minutes because I do not have to keep any of it except for the charge port. But if you are going lithium, you don't even have to keep the charge port because a new one comes with the battery, because it charges completely different. It's a whole different ball game when it comes to lithium. So in my case today, I'm going to rip out every bit of it, including our charge ports. So when you're doing this, you don't have to be too gentle with anything in here. What I mean by that is if you got to cut wires to get something out, so be it, because you're not reusing any of it. Alright, so I just pulled the forward and reverse handle off. You can keep it as a souvenir or throw it in the trash, because this whole forward and reverse switch here, it gets gone. You move to the push button forward and reverse rocker switch. See now how I cut those off on the ends right there from the forward and reverse switch. I don't need none of it, right? But I can save these cables and potentially help someone out that may have a cable meltdown in their golf cart. I can put new ends on these. Boom, off they go. It's kind of the reason why I do this right here and cutting these cables out of the way, because most of them I can reuse to help somebody out in the future. There you go. So you see I got the forward and reverse out. On the phone with somebody that's done a conversion with theirs as well. These conversion kits are super popular. We love how it's able to take something that's so old and bring it back to life and be able to do exactly what the new technology can do for it, and still have the old school vintage look, because some of us just like these cool vintage carts. So at this point, I'm going to get our heat shield out of the way. It's a 2 3/8 or 10 mil, basically like self-tappers that hold it to the frame. So I'm going to get that out the way. That way I can get all of our resistors out of the way here. Now we can get down here to the bolts that hold the board to the chassis of the golf cart, and most of the time they're either a 10 or an 11 mil with probably a nut on the bottom. Some may not. This one looks like it's still in original condition, so the frame is threaded for those bolts. There you go. There's our resistors. Now it is still hooked to our V-Glide through all these colored cables, but But that's as simple as, I think, either a 8 or 10 mil nut that you just loosen up, take off the bolt. These are like button head bolts, so they don't have any kind of like flathead or Phillips head designed to them. No hex head for that. It's just a button with a square underneath the button, and it sits down inside of the V-Glide in like a slot that holds the bolt there. So we're gonna get that off now too. Alright, so once you got your two nuts loose from the bolt, you got to come down into where the throttle rod hooks to the V-Glide itself. It should be spring loaded, so you just push it towards the nose of the cart and it pops right off. And then you can get your V-Glide and your resistors all out at the same time. You don't have to fight with trying to get these bolts off, all these nuts, all the nuts off of the V-Glide to try to get your cables out of the way. You don't have to have them, so you can just take it out as one unit, and that's where it belongs. Alright guys, so next thing I'm going to do is get our charge port out of the way. Simple 4 screws on the front side, and it'll let go from the body. Alright guys, so it's time for us to get that out of here. It's going to have 3 bolts on this side, and sometimes there's a L bracket that comes off of the motor and bolts to the rear end. It's most of the time got a 13 mil bolt in it. The ones that hold the motor to the rear end, here, and on the other side this way is 11 mils. And thankfully this motor's got a handle on it, so it ought to be pretty slick on getting it out of here with no real issue. So here we go guys. Got that sucker out of there. Definitely gonna have to clean inside of that. And also this thing was just about to have gotten stuck on the shaft because all that rust buildup in there. This is very important that you certainly put something in the input shaft to be able to keep it from seizing up on the input shaft of the rear end, because it is a pain to get them off. But if you take preventative measures like anti-seize or even just some normal like high temperature grease coated on the shaft before you slip your motor on, you shouldn't have any problems getting it off throughout its future. But yep, we're going to take this thing outside now. Nice little rainy day out here for us anyhow. I'll take it outside and get the pressure washer in here and get all this crap blasted off of it, and get that rear end cleaned out of it where all the mess was inside of it from the motor, and get back to putting our solid state kit back in this bad boy. Alright guys, so a quick recap on what we've done. We've removed our batteries, we've removed our resistor coils and our V-Glide. We've also removed our F&R switch. We've also removed our charge port. The last thing that we got to remove is going to be this solenoid, and then this wiring harness right here utilizes key switch power and charge port deal, which you will not need any longer. So once you get to the point where you're ready to pull out the key switch, then those wires will come out with it. Then you just unplug it from the key switch, you get your new wiring harness for the new system, you wire it back in, and then you can put your key switch back in your dash, tighten it up, and then forget all about it, because you won't have to worry about it anymore. Alright guys, so we've pulled out everything from the cart. Here's our controller that we are going to go with, and then our wiring harness to put back in the golf cart so that we can wire all this together. And I have stated that this customer decided to go lithium as well, and so we did not need battery cables, just a few minor cables that will go from the solenoid to the controller, and then from the controller to the motor. And then we have your F1 and F2 cables, which are the yellow and white in every case. When it comes to the club car, these are what you're going to use to provide the F1 and F2 to the motor. Well, there's a little detail also, because here is our potentiometer, here is the old V-glide. This is a very small detail that you need to actually take into consideration when you're doing this conversion, is that when you get the old V-glide out, you need to make sure you get your pedal rod attachment right here. You got to get this off of the V-glide and put it on. And my guy that builds these is an amazing dude at letting us know where to put that attachment for the pedal rod. You can see he writes 100% throttle is what that means. You use the top slot. And so that's where we're going to start. We're going to get our little ball put in right here, and then get this mounted to the golf cart, and then go from there. Because this, he does build it already come with a bracket to put back in its place, and that's going to go right here on the driver's side, just like that. Alright guys, so here you go on getting the potentiometer put in the right place and how to get it in. So what I do is I take a small drill bit about the same size as what your self-tappers are, and yeah, you can take the self-tapper and let it eat all the way through, but it's just easier and it's faster, less stress on the screws, so that way when you tighten them down to the cart frame, that you still got the strength of the threads holding in to the frame. So I just pre-drilled the 2 holes here, marked these holes that's on the bracket, pre-drilled the holes, and then I self-tapped into the frame. And then you'll hook up your throttle rod right here, and then you will push the pedal just to be sure that it is going all the way back, and that's exactly what we got there, all the way back forward. It clicks the switch off, clicks the switch on. That's what we look for. Now we can start laying in the rest of the cart's harness. And like you've seen in some of my previous videos, this part of the wiring harness is pretty long, and so what I'll do is I'll wind it up in here and probably drill a couple of little small holes right here for some wire management, be able to zip tie it to the frame, and then we'll be putting in the lithium battery bracket pretty soon. Be ready to accommodate the battery. We're getting ready to start laying this in. I'm getting ready to hook up the forward and reverse switch back right here where it was, and then go from there. Alright guys, so I got a big portion of this wired up yesterday. There are some things that you're going to have to do when doing the club car model, because of the battery tray having it's got an open hole in the center of it. You will have to make some kind of brackets of some sort to be able to mount the controller. And then we've done the same thing over here with the charger and the reducer. Here's the reducer, there's your charger. You can see I've made some brackets to go across here to be able to bolt everything to. My wires look like a little mess right now, but don't pay no attention to that, because I'm not close to being done yet. I'm just getting ready to start doing your main wire stuff. And so when you're looking at this fuse link in the wiring harness, you're going to see that it's the link and 2 female spade ends. This link has to be put to the same spot that the cable from the positive cable from your battery pack runs to. So if you're to the solenoid, alright, so if the cable that comes from the battery pack, if you hook it to the solenoid here, you need to put this here also with that battery pack. If you do it to the other side, you need to put it to the other side, just as long as this fuse link is on the same spot of the solenoid that the positive battery cable connects to. They both connect to the same spot on the solenoid. and then you'll just plug up your female spades to your solenoid, which you will have to get some of the male spades or cut those ends off and put the ring terminals on here, so that way you can connect your low amp wires to it as well. Fortunately, I've got a couple of the male spades, so I'm going to be putting the spades on here to be able to plug them into. After you get your battery hooked to the solenoid, you got to hook the solenoid to the controller, so you'll have a wire coming from the opposite side from the battery of the solenoid and then to the B positive on the controller. Alright guys, so you can get a little bit better idea of what I was saying. You can see the fuse link is here. My positive battery cable is going to come from the battery, which is going to be right in this area. Okay, positive cable comes over, hooks to the solenoid. The fuse link goes directly with this cable that comes from the battery. And then of course the cable that comes from this side of the solenoid, when the power transfers, when it opens or closes, comes down to this cable and into our controller, so it feeds the high amp voltage into the controller. Now we're going to get the male spade ends put on the solenoid here so we can plug this in. Generally it does not matter which side females plug into. These particular solenoids have a A1 and an A2 on them. So what I do when it's like that with these solenoids from Volt Energy is I'll use the red wire for the A1 and I'll use the green and black wire for the A2, which is your positive and ground. And then the tow run switch, I just mount it right here, drill a hole. That way it tucks it up under here. It's not seen too easily. That way you can be the one that knows where to cut it on and off at. And then you'll notice right here in the wiring harness that this says B-. You're going to hook this directly to B- on the controller, along with the negative battery cable, because this will provide the negative low amp into the wiring harness. Alright guys, so we have gotten wired all the way up. Getting ready to put the battery bracket in. Got to finish up doing the voltage reducer once the battery is in here. Got my key switch all squared away. Brought the volt reducer key switch wire up here. This is what cuts it off when you're done using the cart. Got my F&R ready to go. The other side bracketry for the battery, that's what I'm getting ready to do now. It's just mark our slots where our bolts hold it to the old battery tray, and then drill my holes, set it in here, get ready to rock and roll. Alright guys, so there we got our brackets in now. I got some of the wire management done where we're following the chassis body support structure here all the way across. Got a little bit to tie up left over there, but I'm going to do that as soon as I get all these wires squared away. Get ready to finish off with this side, but got to get the battery in here first so we can get our battery cables put where we want them to go and get them managed as well. But other than that, battery's about to go in, guys. Alright guys, there we go. So charger, reducer, multi-accessory fuse block, because you can plug in, what you're doing is plugging in the power to any accessory to this fuse block, and then you just run the ground straight to the battery ground. All good there. Got our controller, solenoid, all that good stuff. Got everything zipped up. Got our motor put in. At this point it's time to push this little switch right here. And we are alive. So I got it charging right now. Everything's working out good for the finished product. Well, there you have it, guys. Installed. You know, a couple things, like I said, you're gonna have to look into detail on it, is finding a way to get your product to mount inside the old battery compartment, which shouldn't be too bad. And you can lay a piece of plate down in here and attach everything to the plate, or do like I did and use these raised flat pieces of metal, both sides. And then, like I said, we utilized a solenoid mount that come off of a EasyGo TXT actually. Then we hooked up the guy with when using his voltage reducer, I run this over here to this fuse block for him to be able to use multi ports for power there. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, hit that bell so you can get all the new notifications coming out with the videos, and hit that subscribe button for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all.